welcome back to Storybook Crochet. In today's video, we are going to be making a baby bumblebee outfit, and this will come with the hat, the diaper cover, and the little baby slippers. So I'm going to be showing you the 0 to 3 month size in this video, but I do have other videos showing how to make each of these components in different sizes. I will link those down below in the description. For materials today, I am using a weight 4 worsted yarn, and I am going to be using a lighter brown and a lighter yellow for the main part of our baby outfit here. And then for the flowers, I am using a little bit darker of a golden yellow and a white to make those. So you'll want to grab all those colors. You'll also need some scissors and a yarn needle to weave in all your ends, and then 2 different hook sizes. So the outfit itself is going to be an H hook, a US H hook, that's 5mm hook. And then for the baby booties and the flowers and the stinger and the antenna, we're going to be using a US E hook, and that is a 3.5mm hook. You will also need a tiny bit of fiber fill, but you can also use your yarn tails that you cut off to stuff if you don't have any fiber fill on hand. So let's grab all of those supplies and we'll get started. We are going to start today by making the hat, and we're going to alternate each row of colors. So I will show you at the end of each row how to change your color to make the striped effect that we're wanting. Alright, so we are going to start with our brown yarn, starting with the very top of the hat, and we are going to make a magic ring. So to do this, I take the end of the yarn, drape it over my 3 fingers here, and then wrap it around, crossing over the top. Then I take my hook and go underneath and grab that top piece and pull up a loop, and then I just hold that onto my hook, and then I'll chain 1. And that will secure that ring for you. So for round number 1, we're going to make 8 half double crochets in our ring. So to make your first half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into your circle, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and then pull that through all 3 loops. And that makes your first half double crochet. I'll show you that one more time slowly. Alright, so there's 2, and now you're going to make 6 more, having 8 total half double crochets. Alright, once you have your 8 made, you're going to take that small tail there and pull on that, and that's going to close that opening, completing our circle. Alright, so we are now going to go ahead and change to our next color, our light yellow here, as we finish off round number 1. So you're just going to insert your hook into that first stitch that you made, and then I go ahead and cut a small tail here. Then you're going to grab the end of your yellow yarn and grab that with your hook, pull it through that first stitch, and then pull it through the loop. And that attaches your yellow yarn, and you're going to chain 1. Alright, so now moving on to round number 2, we're going to put 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. This is also called a half double crochet increase. So make your first half double crochet in the same stitch as your chain. And then your second half double crochet will be in that exact same stitch. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around. So 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. And this is going to give you a total of 16 half double crochets for round number 2. Alright, so this is what it should look like so far with our first 2 rounds and our first 2 colors. So next we're going to switch back to our brown yarn. So you're going to go ahead and insert that hook there, cut your tail, and then grab your brown and pull that through. Then chain 1. And you'll do this at the very end of every single round that we make. Alright, so for round number 3, we're going to start out by making 1 half double crochet in our first stitch. So again, you'll go in that same stitch as your chain to make your first half double crochet. In our second stitch, we're going to put 2 half double crochets, or our increase. And we're just going to repeat that around, so 1 half double crochet, and then increase in the next stitch. So this will give you a total of 24 half double crochets at the end of round number 3. Moving on to round 4, we're going to attach our yellow yarn, and in our first stitch we're going to make 1 half double crochet. In our second stitch we'll make 1 half double crochet, and then in our third stitch we'll make our increase. And you'll just again repeat that around, so 2 half double crochets, and then increase in the third stitch. So at the end of round number 4, you're going to have a total of 32 half double crochets. For round 5, we're going to start out by making 3 half double crochets. So go into that first stitch and make your first half double crochet, and then make 2 more. And then you'll make your increase in the fourth stitch. And you'll repeat that around, 3 half double crochets, increase in the fourth stitch, until you have a total of 40 half double crochets at the end of this round. So round 6 is going to be our last increase round for the 0 to 3 month size hat. Again, if you're wanting the bigger sizes, you can find those videos on my channel and in the links down below in the description. You'll just have to change your row colors like we are in this video. Alright, so for round number 6, we're going to make 4 half double crochets. Alright, after you have your 4 made, you're going to make your increase. And just like the previous rounds, you're just going to repeat that around, 4 half double crochets, and then increase. After you get that done, you will have a total of 48 half double crochets made for round number 6. Alright, so now for rounds 7 through 14, we're just going to put 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. So each of these rounds will consist of 48 half double crochets. You just want to make sure you keep alternating your colors at the end of each round. So you'll just go ahead and work your way around through round number 14, and then we'll meet back and then we'll finish off the hat with this edging right here with our brown yarn. So round number 14 will end in yellow yarn. So go ahead and finish that up and we'll meet back for the last part here. Alright, so we have through round 14 done. So for round 15, we're going to go ahead and attach our brown yarn. We have 2 rounds left and we will use the brown for both rounds. So for round 15, we're going to do like we just have been. We're just going to put 1 half double crochet in each stitch around, and that again will give us a total of 48 half double crochets at the end of round number 15. Alright, so our last round is round 16. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the first half double crochet that we made and chain 1. So for this round, we're going to be doing half double crochets, but we're going to be working around the front post and the back post of each stitch from the previous round and alternating those. So I will show you how to make your front post and back post half double crochets. So you're going to yarn over like normal, but instead of going in the stitch, you're going to go behind this front post here. Once you have that over your hook, you're going to just grab your yarn and pull that through and make your half double crochet. Alright, so that's the front post half double crochet. For the next one, you're going to yarn over, you're going to go up in between the stitch you just made and your next one, and then you're going to go over that post. So this is what that would look like. Your hook will be behind that. Grab your yarn and pull that through, and then make your half double crochet. Alright, so I'll show you that one more time. For the front post, you're going to have the post in front of your hook and make your half double crochet. For the back post, you'll have the post behind your hook, like that. Alright, and you're just going to alternate those around, doing your front post and back post half double crochets. And again, you will have a total of 58 half double crochets made at the end of round number 16. Alright, so now that we've come to the end of our round, we're going to make our slip stitch to the very first half double crochet we made, and then we'll finish this off. So you just need a little bit of a shorter tail here, and then we're going to have to weave in all of these ends. So I just flipped the hat inside out, and then you're going to need your yarn needle and your scissors to go ahead and weave all these in. So I go back and forth a few times just so if you wash it, it's not going to come undone. So here I'll go with in the brown. Just make sure you weave it into the same color as the end of your tail. So I'll go back up and then back down one more time. So about 3 times should do it. All right, and then you'll snip that off. And you're going to do that with every single round here. And I know that's the annoying part, but it will make it look nice once you have it finished. So go ahead and weave all those in, and then we're going to make the little antenna, and you're going to need your 3.25 or E hook. Alright, so our hat is now finished, and we'll go ahead and make our 2 little antenna for the very top. You're going to need your 3.5 millimeter or E crochet hook, and we're going to be using our brown yarn to make these antenna. So you're going to start by making your magic ring, and then in this magic ring we're going to make 6 single crochets for round number 1. Once you have those 6 made, close that opening by pulling on that tail there. And then moving on to round 2, we're going to increase around. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in every single stitch around. And this will give you a total of 12 single crochets at the end of round number 2. At this point, you can also use a stitch marker to keep track of each of your rounds. I like to put mine in the last stitch of each round, but some people put theirs in the first stitch. Moving on to round number 3, we're going to start by making 2 single crochets. So 1 in each of the first 2 stitches, and then we'll increase in the 3rd stitch. And you'll just repeat that around for a total of 4 times. So 2 single crochets and then increase. And this is going to give you 16 total single crochets at the end of round number 3. Alright, so now moving on, for rounds 4 and 5, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And for each of these rounds, you'll again have a total of 16 single crochets. Moving on to round number 6, we're going to start out by making 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So let's make our first 2 single crochets first. And then we're going to decrease over the next 2 stitches. So I make my decreases in the front loop only. So instead of going under both like normal, you're just going to put your hook under that very front loop, grab your yarn and pull that through, go under the next front loop, pull your yarn through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So we turn those 2 stitches into 1. So you're just going to repeat that around. So 2 single crochets and then decrease over the next 2. So you'll do this until you have a total of 12 single crochets made for round number 6. So at this point, we're going to want to stuff this, and you can use fiber fill or you can use your yarn scraps here to go ahead and stuff that top part of the antenna. So we'll only be stuffing the top part, the little, the bottom part of it, we won't stuff that at all. So you'll just add as much as you need in here of either your fiber fill or your yarn scraps. And this is just a good way to use up those scraps so you're not throwing them all away. Alright, so get as much as you want in there. And then for the next round, round 7, we're going to decrease around 6 times total. So you'll just go into the first 2 stitches and make your first decrease, and then the next 2 stitches and make your second decrease. Work your way around until you have 6 decreases made for round number 7. Alright, once you have that done, for rounds 8 and 9, we're just going to single crochet around. So put 1 single crochet in each stitch around for a total of 6 single crochets for each round. So again, that's rounds 8 and 9. Once your last stitch is made, you're just going to slip stitch to that first stitch of this last round and finish that off. And you'll want to cut a little bit longer of a tail as we're going to use that to sew it onto the hat. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and make your second antenna, and then I'll show you how to sew those on. Alright, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and sew our antennas on, and I do mine between kind of rows 3 and 4. So just count 1, 2, 3, and just kind of in between those 2 rows there. And we're just going to go ahead and grab your yarn needle here. You're going to go up through 1 stitch on the hat and through the next stitch on the antenna. And then you're just going to work your way around until you have all the stitches of the antenna attached to your hat. You'll turn it over and just keep working your way around. Alright, once you have your last stitch made there, you can just kind of weave that in through the antenna itself. So I just kind of come up to the top with my needle here. And then I'll just kind of go back and forth a few times just to make sure that's good and attached. And then once you have that done, just snip that tail off. And there's your first antenna attached, and you'll do the exact same thing, just making sure you're lining them up well so they're evenly spread apart. All right, to start our diaper cover, we're going to start with our brown yarn, and we're going to make a slip knot. And then we're going to go ahead and chain 52. All right, once you have your chain made, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the very first chain we made. But you just want to make sure that you don't twist your chain as you're doing that. So once you find that first chain, go ahead and make your slip stitch to connect them. And then we're going to chain 1. After this, we're going to half double crochet around 1 in each chain. So just go into that first one with the same as your chain there and make your first half double crochet, and then you'll just work your way around 1 in each chain. So you will have a total of 52 half double crochets made at the end of round number 1. Alright, so now that we have our last half double crochet made, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to that very first one from round 1 and chain 1. So at this point, we're going to be doing the same technique that we did at the end of the hat here with the front post and the back post half double crochet. And it's going to be the exact same thing we did for that. So you're going to make your front post half double crochet. And then you'll go and do your back post half double crochet. And then you're just going to repeat that all the way around. And so this again will give you a total of 52 half double crochets made at the end of round number 2. Alright, so this is what the top band should look like at this point for our diaper cover. So we're now going to go ahead and change to our yellow yarn. So just go ahead and insert your hook into that first stitch. And then just go ahead and cut your brown. And then you'll just grab your yellow here and pull that through both loops and chain 1. That gets our yellow attached. So now we're just going to half double crochet in each stitch around. So this should give you a total of 52 half double crochets. So just every single stitch around, make a half double crochet. Now we're going to change to our brown yarn and repeat what we just did, and we're going to do that for the next 3 rounds. So rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all going to be the same. We're just going to half double crochet 1 in each stitch around, just making sure that you're alternating your colors, just like you did with the hat. So round number 4 here is with brown, and then the next round you'll do it with yellow, and then brown again. Alright, so go ahead and just finish off through round 6, and we'll meet back and we'll start the front flap of the diaper cover. Okay, so this is what the top part of our diaper cover should look like. So next we're going to do the front flap here. And again, you're just going to alternate your colors for every single row like we have been doing. Okay, so you'll need to attach your yellow yarn, and for row number 1 of the front flap, we're going to make 16 half double crochets across. So just 1 in each stitch like we have been doing, just make 16 of them across. When you get to your last stitch of the row, we're going to change our color. So you're just going to yarn over like normal, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then you're going to grab your next color, your brown, grab that yarn and pull that through all three, and that will attach that color for you. And then you'll just chain one. You might need to pull the tails of those just to tighten that up a bit. All right, so after row number 1, this is what it should look like. We're going to turn our piece over, and then we're going to start with a half double crochet decrease over the first 2 stitches here. So to do that, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the very first stitch there, pull up your loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull your loop through. You now have 5 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 5. And that turns those first 2 stitches into 1 stitch. After you get your decrease finished, you're going to make 12 half double crochets across. Okay, so we now have our last 2 stitches left. We're going to make our half double crochet decrease, and I'll show you again how to change your color when you're doing that. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up your loop, yarn over, insert into the last stitch, pull up your loop. You have your 5 loops on your hook. You can go ahead and just cut that brown yarn off to get that out of your way, and then grab your yellow and pull that through all 5 loops and chain 1. And that's how we change our color when we're doing that decrease. All right, and next you're going to turn your piece over, and we're just going to repeat what we just did by making a half double crochet decrease over the first 2. And then you're going to half double crochet across the next 10. All right, and then we're going to do our decrease over the last 2, changing our color back to brown. And chain 1 and turn. And we're going to repeat that again with our half double crochet decrease. And this time we're going to half double crochet 8 across. And then make your last decrease in the last 2 stitches. Alright, so this next row will be our last decrease row, so go ahead and make your decrease over the first 2 stitches. And then you're going to make 6 half double crochets. And then make your last decrease. All right, we have 1 row left to do, so go ahead and attach your brown yarn. And for this last row, we're just going to half double crochet across. There's no decreases, so you'll have 8 total half double crochets made. All right, once that is finished, you're just going to cut a short tail here. And then before we move on, you can go ahead and just weave in all of those ends to get them out of your way. All right, now that we have all of those ends weaved in, we can go ahead and start on the back portion of the diaper cover. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the side. This is going to be my left side of the diaper cover, the front flap here. We're going to skip the next 7 stitches. So just count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And in that 8th stitch there, you're going to attach your yellow yarn. And then chain 1. Okay, and then the next part is for row number 1 of the back flap. We're going to make 22 half double crochets across. Once you get to that very last stitch, you're going to change your color just like we have been. And chain 1. So again, you should have 7 stitches left at the end that we will not work in. All right, once you have that done, we will turn our piece over, and I just kind of fold this front flap down just to get that out of my way. So now we're just going to repeat the process that we did on the front flap by making a half double crochet decrease over the first 2, and then you'll half double crochet across and make a decrease in the last 2 while changing your color. And you're going to do this for a total of 7 rows. So this will be row 1. You'll have 8 total when you're finished with this portion of the back flap. So go ahead and finish through row number 8 for the back flap, and we'll meet back. So just making your decreases over the front, or the first 2 and the last 2 stitches of each row, and half double crocheting across in the middle. Alright, so this is what it should look like with those 8 rows completed. So for our very last row, row 9, we're just going to half double crochet across. And this should be with your yellow yarn. And then we'll finish that off. Alright, well after you complete your last stitch there, you're going to cut a little bit longer of a tail, as we're going to use this to sew the 2 panels together. So before you do that, go ahead and weave in these extra ends, just making sure you leave that long tail at the end there. Okay, so at this point we can go ahead and match up the 2 ends of the panels here. You're going to use your yarn needle and just go through the front panel and then the same stitch on the back panel. And then you'll just make your stitches across to sew that together. Okay, so once you finish that last stitch there, just go ahead and weave that yellow yarn in through the last row of the back panel so it goes with the same color. And then finish that off. And then next we're going to go ahead and line the leg openings with our brown yarn. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead and line that leg opening. I've already done the first one so you can see what that looks like. We're going to use the same method that we used on the top band here. So what you're going to want to do is get your leg opening ready. I go ahead and just attach my yarn here in this last row of the top part, and you grab your brown and you're just going to simply half double crochet evenly around. So I put 30 half double crochets around. It's okay if your numbers don't match that exactly. You can have 1 or 2 less, stitches in yours. So go ahead and make your half double crochets around, and then I will show you how to finish off round 2 of the leg. Alright, so once you get your last stitch done, you're just going to slip stitch to the very first one you made and chain 1, and then we're going to use the front post, back post half double crochets that we did in the very first band here that we made. So you're just going to go around that front post and make your half double crochet, and then the back post and make a half double crochet, just alternating those all the way around. So you should have the same amount of stitches that you made from round 1 of the leg opening. Alright, so go ahead and slip stitch to that first half double crochet you made and just cut a shorter tail, and then you'll just weave that in. And then you'll just want to repeat the same instructions for the second leg opening, and that will finish off the main part of our diaper cover. And next we will making the little stinger that will go on the back. Alright, so we are going to now make the little stinger for our diaper cover, and again we're going to use our E-hook for that. We're going to start by making our magic ring. And in our ring this time we're going to make 4 single crochets. Once those 4 are made, you're just going to pull on that tail to close that opening. For round 2, we're going to start by making 1 single crochet in the very first stitch, and then we're going to increase in the second stitch. And then you're just going to repeat that one more time, so 1 single crochet and then increase. Alright, once you have that completed, you're just going to kind of pop that center so the right side is facing out, because we're going to have that as our little point for our stinger. At this point I'm going to grab my stitch marker and go ahead and place that. So for round number 3, we're going to start out by making 2 single crochets and then increase in the third. And then again, you'll just repeat that one more time, so 2 single crochets and then increase. And this will give you a total of 8 single crochets at the end of round 3. I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and snip off that center tail just to get that out of my way. Alright, moving on to round 4, this time we're going to do 3 single crochets. And then you'll increase in the 4th stitch. And then just repeat that one more time. We have 1 round left, so for round 5, this time we're going to do 4 single crochets. And then you'll increase in the 5th. Once you have that done, you're just going to slip stitch to the very first stitch you made, and then just cut a longer tail so that we can sew that on. Alright, so you can add a little tiny bit of fiber fill to your stinger here, and then you'll just want to find the middle of the back and go ahead and just sew that around, and then just weave your tail in when you're finished with that. Alright, so to start off our little baby slipper, we're going to start by making the bottom or the sole of our shoe. So to start this off, we're going to make a chain of 10. So you'll just make your slip knot, and then go ahead and chain 10. Alright, so once you have your chain of 10 made, we're going to start by working in the second chain from our hook. So you'll skip this first one and then insert your hook into the second chain there. And we're going to start by making 2 single crochets in that one chain, or this is also known as an increase. So you'll put your first 2 single crochets in that second chain from your hook. After that, we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 chains. Alright, once your 4 single crochets are done, we're now going to half double crochet across the next 3 chains. So to half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, pull up your loop, you'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that's your first half double crochet, and then you'll make 2 more. Alright, you should have 1 chain left, and in this last chain we're going to put 6 half double crochets all in that very last chain. So every one of those 6 half double crochets will go into the same chain. Alright, and that's what that should look like once you have all 6 made. So now we're going to work on the opposite side of our chain, and you may have seen this in previous patterns. So all that means is we worked our way around, and now our chain is upside down. We're going to work along the bottom side of that original chain. And you can also crochet over your tail here, so you'll just go underneath that as well when you insert your hook. Alright, so our next stitches are going to be 3 half double crochets over the next 3 stitches. Alright, so we have our 3 half double crochets made, and next we're going to make 4 single crochets. Alright, so at this point you should have 1 chain left, and in that very last chain we're going to make an increase. So you'll put your 2 single crochets in that last stitch. Once you have those made, you're going to slip stitch to the very first single crochet that you made of this round. Alright, once you have that, you're just going to chain 1. And then before we move on to round number 2, if you crocheted over your tail, you can go ahead and snip that off. If not, you can just go ahead and weave that in if you want to get that tail out of your way. Alright, so now moving on to round 2, we're going to start out by making some half double crochets, and we're going to make a half double crochet increase in the same stitch as our chain. So you'll make your first half double crochet in that same stitch that your chain is attached to, and then you'll make a second half double crochet in that same stitch. Alright, and then we're just going to repeat that one more time in the next stitch. So a half double crochet increase, or 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Alright, after we have our 2 increases complete, we're going to make 8 half double crochets across the next 8 stitches. So 1 in each of the next 8 stitches. Alright, and now we're going to make more half double crochet increases. So we're going to put 2 half double crochets in each of the next 5 stitches. After your increases are complete, we're now going to make 7 half double crochets. And in our very last 2 stitches here, we're going to make 2 more half double crochet increases. So 2 half double crochets in each of the last 2 stitches. All right, so round number 3 will be our last round for the bottom of our shoe. So we're going to start by making a single crochet increase in the same chain or the same stitch as our chain. So you'll put 2 single crochets in that one stitch. All right, and then in the next stitch, we're just going to put 1 single crochet. So we have an increase and a single crochet, and we're going to repeat that one more time. So in the third stitch there, you're going to increase, and then in the next one, 1 single crochet. All right, after those first 4 stitches are done there, we're going to make 9 single crochets. All right, so for the front of the toe here, we're going to repeat what we did at the beginning of the round. We're going to start our first stitch with an increase, and then our second stitch with 1 single crochet. And you're going to repeat that pattern 5 times around. So increase and then single crochet. We are now going to make 7 single crochets. All right, after those 7 are made, in the next stitch, you're going to make an increase. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet. And then in the last, you're going to make an increase. All right, and then slip stitch to the very first single crochet of this round. And chain 1. And that finishes off the very bottom part of our baby shoe. So next, we're going to start building up the sides. All right, so for round 4, we're going to be working in the back loop only. So normally when we make a stitch, you can see the V's here that each stitch makes. We go under both. But for this round, we're going to go in between the V and just go under that very back loop. And you'll do this for every single stitch around. So we're going to half double crochet around. So you're going to start in that first stitch there, that's the same as your chain. So you'll go underneath that back loop only and make your first half double crochet. And then you'll just repeat that all the way around for every stitch. Half double crocheting in the back loop only for round number 4. And you can start to see that leaving the front loops left unworked kind of leaves a little edging there to our booty, and you can see that better on this finished example here. And that's the effect that we're wanting by working in the back loop only. All right, and then we're going to slip stitch to our first half double crochet and chain 1. All right, so starting round 5, we're going to start by making 11 single crochets. So starting in that first stitch as your chain, and you'll do that with every single round. You're going to make your first single crochet, and then you'll make 10 more, so 11 total single crochets. All right, at this point we are going to start decreasing for the front of the toe so that we can get this effect that we're needing to bring that in. All right, so we're going to be making half double crochet decreases, and I will show you how to make those. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up your loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up your loop. You have 5 loops on your hook this time, and then you'll yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. So we turn those 2 stitches into 1. After you make your first half double crochet decrease, you're going to just make 1 regular half double crochet in the next stitch. And we're going to repeat that pattern around a total of 7 times. So in the next 2 stitches, you're going to make your decrease, and then you'll make your regular half double crochet. So just repeat that again a total of 7 times around the toe of our slipper here. After your last half double crochet is made, you're then going to make 10 single crochets. All right, after your last single crochet, you'll slip stitch to the first one made and chain 1, and that completes round number 5. For round 6, we're going to start by making 12 single crochets. All right, after your 12 are made, we're now going to make 7 half double crochet decreases in a row. All right, and then we'll finish off the round by making 9 single crochets. And then to finish that off, we'll make our slip stitch and chain 1. All right, for round 7, we're going to start by making 2 single crochet decreases. So going in that same stitch as your chain, and then in the next stitch, you'll make your first decrease, and then you'll make 1 more decrease after that. All right, once your 2 decreases are complete, you're going to make 8 single crochets. Next, we are going to make 4 half double crochet decreases. Once your decreases are complete, you'll make 6 single crochets. And then you're going to make a single crochet decrease over the last 2 stitches to finish off this round. All right, and then we'll slip stitch, but this time we're not going to chain 1. And we'll move straight on to round number 8, where we're going to just slip stitch in each stitch around. So as you do this, make sure you're not slip stitching tightly. You just want very even slip stitches, not too loose but not too tight. All right, once you make your last slip stitch there, just kind of pull that loop out a little bit. And we're going to use an invisible join to finish this off. So just cut a little bit of a tail here, And then what you're going to do is take that yarn and pull that out of that loop like that. Grab your yarn needle. Okay, and then you're going to find the next slip stitch that you made, and you're going to go under both of the loops of that slip stitch and pull your yarn through. And then you're going to go in the very last slip stitch you made, but you're only going to go under that top loop or the back loop, and then pull your yarn through. And you can see that kind of creates another stitch there, so it looks very even and like there's not just a break there in our stitches. Once you have that, I just kind of bring that yarn back through to the other side, going underneath them. And then you're just going to go through and weave in your tail there. So I just go through the top row here. You can go through the second row, pull your yarn through, and then I go back again another time. And that just finishes it off so it won't come undone. Alright, so that finishes off our first booty, so you'll just want to go rewatch that again to make your second one. And then if you want, I will show you real quick how to make the little daisies to put on the top as a little bonus for this pattern. Alright, so we are going to start with the center of our flower with our yellow yarn, and we're going to make a magic ring. So to do this, I take the end of the yarn and I wrap it around my 3 fingers here, crossing over the top as I go. Then I'll take my hook, go underneath, grab that top piece of yarn there, pull up a loop, and then I just hold that onto my hook and then chain 1, and that will secure the ring for you. Once you have your ring made, we're going to make 6 single crochets in our ring. So you're going to go inside the ring with your hook, grab your loop and pull that up and make your first single crochet. And you'll just repeat that, working around the yarn as you go. Alright, once you have your 6 made, you're going to take that tail and pull on it to close that opening. And that completes round number 1. So we're going to make a slip stitch to the very first single crochet that we made, and then we're going to chain 1. Alright, so at this point I'm just going to go ahead and cut this tail short so it's out of my way. For round 2, we're going to start by making 2 single crochets. So work into the same stitch as your chain and make your first single crochet, and then make your second single crochet in the next stitch. And then in our third stitch, we're going to make an increase. And then we're just going to repeat that one more time. So 2 single crochets and an increase. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead and change to our white yarn. So you're going to go ahead and insert your hook into the very first stitch of that round. Cut a shorter tail of your yellow, and then grab your white yarn. Grab that with your hook and pull that through. And that's going to attach your white yarn for you, and then you're going to chain 2. Alright, so every petal will be worked the same. So you'll start with your chain 2, and then you're going to work into that same stitch as your chain, and you're going to make 2 double crochets. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up your loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the second 2 loops. And you repeat that one more time, so you have 2 double crochets made. Alright, so we have our chain 2, 2 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 2 again and slip stitch into the same stitch we've been working in. And that is our first petal complete. So to start the next petal, we're going to first slip stitch into the next stitch there, and then we'll just repeat that. So chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and slip stitch into the same stitch. And then slip stitch into the next stitch and repeat. So you'll repeat that around until you have a total of 8 petals made, and then I'll show you how to finish that off and to sew it onto our baby booty. Alright, so we now have all of our petals made. You're just going to make one more slip stitch in the same stitch as your first petal that you made to finish that off. Once you have that, just kind of pull your yarn out and cut a little bit longer of a tail so we can sew that onto our booty. And then you're just going to finish that off by pulling that through in between the first and last petal there. Alright, and that finishes off our flower. So then I just take the 2 tails at the back and I just go ahead and just tie those off, as we're not going to see them once we sew this onto our little slipper. Okay, I put about 3 knots in that, and then go ahead and just cut those short. Alright, and then you'll just take your yarn needle and your booty, and then you're just going to place that on the top over the toe part, and then you'll just go underneath, grab a stitch on the slipper here, and then come up through one of the bases of the petals. Make sure you're going through the white part and not the yellow though. Okay, and then go down through the next petal, grabbing a stitch on the booty. And you'll just repeat that all the way around until you have it completely secure, and then you'll just weave in your end through the back of the white part of the flower. Alright, so if you're adding the flowers to your outfit, you'll want to make 2 more, one for the diaper cover, and I kind of put it over the seam where we joined each of our rounds in. It just kind of hides that part for you. And then you'll add it kind of under the antenna for the little hat here, or you could even add it down here. I think in either way would be really cute. For more fun bumblebee patterns, you can check out my Etsy shop, and I'll have a link down in the description below. I've just posted 2 brand new bumblebee patterns. This is the baby bumblebee pattern. I've made it in a darker yellow and a lighter yellow, and they're super cute. And then I've also just posted my brand new pattern of the little honey pot, and it comes with the little tiny bee and the same flower we're using in today's pattern, with a little honey drip, and it is super adorable. So if you want those patterns, you can find those in my Etsy shop at Storybook Crochet Company on Etsy. And there you have it. Our baby bumblebee outfit is complete with our hat, our diaper cover, and our baby booties. If you enjoyed this pattern, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos that will be coming out shortly.
Take me home.